There is no one true way to write a work of fiction. Every author has their own approach, and as long as you wind up with a good story at the end, your way is as good as anyone else's way. That said, though, there are certain steps that are usually taken in the process of creating a good story. These steps might be taken in a different sequence than I'm presenting them in here, and most of these steps, if not all of them, will probably be revisited multiple times over the course of writing a book. But generally speaking, as a jumping-off place, this is a practical overview of how to write a story. One important step is to learn the craft of writing. Writing is both an art and a craft. The artistic vision of a sculptor can be executed more successfully if the sculptor knows how to create an underlying armature strong enough to support the weight of the sculpting material, or understands when an armature is unnecessary because the material can bear its own weight. A painter's art will be more successful if the artist understands what kind of substrate their chosen medium will stick to, so the paint doesn't flake off. Similarly, an author's artistic vision will be executed more efficiently and successfully if the author understands the fundamentals of the craft of writing. This includes things like story structure, pacing, managing narrative tension, writing effective dialogue, and employing the mechanics of language effectively. Prewriting is also an important step in crafting a work of fiction. This refers to all the work that goes into knowing what to write, such as brainstorming, research, making a story outline or writing plan, character development, world building, developing a plot, and so forth. This step will look different for different writers depending on their approach to story creation and their style of working, but every solid story requires some kind of prewriting at some point in the process. The next step is drafting, which is the process of shaping the story into words, and then getting the words out of your head and into some form that another person could look at, such as on paper or in a digital file. In other words, you write the story down. After you have shifted your story out of your head and into the real world where you can take a look at it, the next stage is revisions. In this step, you evaluate your manuscript to see what could be improved, and then you improve it. When your story is working as well as you can make it at your current level of development as a writer, show it to other people. Ask them what they honestly think and carefully consider what they have to say. This is called critique or feedback. Up next, more revisions. Evaluate the feedback you've received and incorporate the ideas and suggestions you think will improve your story. Remember, it's okay to not act on every suggestion. After you've done all your revisions, the next step is edits and proofreading. This might sound similar to revisions, and people do sometimes use the terms interchangeably, but they're actually a little bit different. The author revises the manuscript with a goal of improving the story. Edits and proofreading are usually done in cooperation with industry professionals with a goal of preparing the story for publication and a focus on bringing the manuscript into conformity with industry standards and expectations. There are different kinds of edits, from big picture changes to the story's structure and internal logic, to improving language usage and grammar at a paragraph and sentence level, to a final nitpicky proofreading pass to make sure the text is as free of errors as possible. And the final step is publication. Publication just means making your finished story available to the public. It can be as simple as handing it out to your friends, and as complicated as international distribution in multiple formats. Publishing is easier and more accessible now than it has been at any other period in history. However, the fact that you can publish doesn't mean you have to publish. In the same way that you can play soccer in your backyard just for fun and physical exercise, without ever planning to go professional, you can write stories just for fun and mental exercise without ever intending to publish. Writing for fun is just as valid a reason to write as writing to publish. If you do want to publish, there are two primary avenues to do so. Traditional publishing, which is sometimes called trad publishing in the writing world, and self-publishing. Traditional publishing is when you sell publication rights to a publishing company and they publish your story. Self-publishing is when you become your own publishing company and publish your books yourself. Each of these avenues has advantages and disadvantages that we'll talk about in a later video. We will, of course, be diving down deep in all of these steps as more videos get added to the channel. But for now, if you'd like to dip your toes in just a little bit more, check out this playlist. To explore different approaches to writing and think about what kind of writer you might be, watch this video. Here is a discussion of what I think a story is, and if you're ready to start creating a story, check out this video about developing an effective story premise.